There are a number of cities that have become very well known among nomads and among expats as the place to be. In the expat circle, it's the Singapores, the Londons, the usual suspects. In the nomad circles, it's Lisbon, Bangkok, Medellin. In this video, though, I'm going to go in the other direction and share with you 7 cities that I think are underrated and worthy of your attention as a place to live or spend time. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Henderson, and if you want to learn more about what Nomad Capitalist does and how we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs, go to nomadcapitalist.com and you can learn more and get access to a lot of free content. Let's talk about some of the cities that I think deserve more love. Now, if you've watched our videos before, you know I'm a big city guy. I like action. So these are more on the big city side. What I want you to do is leave a comment below. Which cities in the world do you think aren't getting enough love, deserve more attention, are underrated? Leave a comment, I want to hear from you. But let's start in Asia. Number 1 on my list is Seoul in South Korea. Now, I've talked to a number of people, and I've met a number of people over my 13 years of doing this, that love Japan or love China. We have a lot of Japanophiles, they love going to Tokyo, and one gentleman who's in Osaka, they just love Japan. Or other people, they like being in Beijing or in Shanghai. Now, Japan is notoriously anti-immigration. You can go there as a tourist. They've also got some difficult tax policies in certain situations, and so there's just some murkiness around Japan. Great place to visit, in my opinion. I love it. Love the Japanese people. But for a place to live, for a place to be a nomad or an expat, unless you have a job there, probably a bit more difficult. China, as a lot of people have been leaving China just due to differences with the government. Expats are leaving, experienced difficulty running a business there. That's not as easy. The place that I think doesn't get enough love in East Asia, in Northern Asia, is Seoul. Seoul is a vibrant place. It has some of the charm of a Tokyo. They're different, but have some of the similarities. Certainly a bit more developed in some ways than China. And I think, quite frankly, doesn't get enough love. So you can go and they have a special expat tax scheme. You're not going to pay 0. You're not even going to pay low, but you're going to pay moderate amounts of tax. They have immigration options for investors that aren't really talked about that much. And so for me, Seoul is a city that is not on many people's radar, but if you like that part of the world, probably should be on your radar. Number 2 is a city that we've talked about for a long time, for many years, which is Kuala Lumpur. I have a home here, I spend time here. I think it is dramatically underrated. Now, Malaysia is a country, relatively tax-friendly, relatively immigration-friendly. You can come here, make an investment, start a company, get a job. You can live in Malaysia. Much easier than some of the other countries in Southeast Asia. And that's because it's a multicultural society. But to me, Kuala Lumpur is a city. By the way, lots of other great cities in Malaysia, but the big city is KL. And to me, I just came back after being away for about 8 or 9 months. I was in Latin America, I was in Europe for the summer, and I came back and said, you know what this is? This is like the boyfriend or the girlfriend that you leave because they had like one little flaw. And you're like, no, I want someone perfect. And then like for the next 10 years, you're like, oh, I shouldn't have let that person go. They were so great, they had everything. That is Kuala Lumpur. You have great consumer conveniences. You can travel around the region. You have endless restaurants, shopping, nice people from all around the world. Again, multicultural society, expats. You have, bigger housing than you would. It has kind of this Americanized vibe where you can even own a house. It's the only country in Southeast Asia where foreigners can own a house with land. Apartments are bigger. Just amazing. And I think it's underrated because it's not really on the tourist scene. People go to Singapore, okay, that's interesting. They go to Thailand, oh, that's beautiful, and the temples. There's not as much in Malaysia, but to me, that's a great lifestyle hack. And I even did this in the United States, where I lived in Phoenix, Arizona for a while. Not really a very interesting city to visit, but a great city to live for many of the same reasons. So if you're looking for a place to spend time as part of your trifecta or to live, Kuala Lumpur should definitely be in your list. And I've met a lot of people who have come here and actually loved it more than they expected they would. Number 3 is Taipei in Taiwan. If you're looking for that East Asian influence, more traditional East Asian rather than Southeast Asian, I think Taipei is underrated. Very interesting options. You can get residence there. It's not necessarily cheap, but there are some business options as well. And definitely if you want more of that Taiwanese or kind of Chinese influence, but a little bit further south, definitely a very interesting option to consider that a lot of people don't think about. Now let's go to Europe. One of my favorite cities in Europe is actually Belgrade in Serbia. It's been on my list of most livable cities before for a couple of reasons. For me, much of Western Europe is slowly dying. It's a brand name. I talk about how all countries are brand names, and Western Europe has a brand. What's amazing is we just went out the other day here in Kuala Lumpur, and we just walked down the street. We had to get a bandage. And I said, here we are, there's the mall, go down to the basement, there's 4 different pharmacies all right next to each other. You go to many places in Europe on a Sunday, everything's closed. Belgrade has a certain vibrance to it. It's open, it's alive. Now, it is Europe. It's not going to be, total hustle and bustle and 60-story buildings like you have in Asia. If you want that, you spend time in Asia. That's why I have the trifecta. So you get some of the Asian vibe, some of the European vibe. But to me, Belgrade has enough of that European vibe. You have lots of great restaurants. You have a great, scene. It's affordable, highly affordable. You can buy property there. They're flexible on immigration. You don't need a ton of money, and you can go there. By the way, even if you do have, good amount of money, I think you get great value for money. Fun people. It's a place that's not really on the radar. And again, I'll tell you why. Because you drive a couple hours to Budapest, which is on the radar now. Everyone's going to Budapest, and no doubt Budapest is a beautiful city. But what's happening? Well, I can tell you, I've only had racial slurs used against me 4 times in my life. Every one of them was in Budapest. I like Budapest as a city, but I think Belgrade is a city that's not as much on the radar. You can still get in, you can buy property, you can still do a lot more, and it's quite frankly underrated, precisely because it's not in the EU. Budapest has this thing, especially I think along a lot of European nomads, hey, it's within our borders. Belgrade, I think, definitely worth considering. Also on my list, number 5 is a city that I've loved for more than a decade now. It's gotten a lot of attention among people who are working in the tech space or working various jobs, but it's Dublin in Ireland. I think Dublin is a great city if you're looking for something that's more calm, more slow-paced, something with that kind of Anglo influence, but a bit more relaxed. I can tell you, I think you might have trouble finding a bandage there on Sunday. I haven't been there in a year or two, but it's always a bit more of a challenge. But I think it's a great, underrated city for someone who comes from the Anglo world and wants some of that. It's a lot easier to get into, I think, than the UK. That's made some of their visa rules more difficult. Certainly the US or other countries, Australia. I think it's just a very livable city, small city. Lots of green around you. So if you're looking for that kind of thing, I don't hear a lot of people in the nomad or the expat scene talking about Dublin as much. Now, let's go to the Americas. Number 6, Mexico City. People have heard of Mexico City, especially people from the US as I am. What I hear is, let's go somewhere else in Mexico. Let's go to Tulum. Let's go to Playa del Carmen, where we're having our live conference, Nomad Capitalist, live this year. Let's go to Puerto Vallarta or Acapulco. Mexico City, to me, is one of the world's great underrated capital cities. I think people get kind of this weird impression because when you come out of the airport, it's almost like driving into the airport like LAX in Los Angeles. The area around the airport is not so great, and it's not so great. You get into some of the great neighborhoods. You get into the Romas, the Cuauhtemocs, the Palancos, all those areas around there. In the city center, call the Nomad bubble if you will, these are some incredible areas. You've got some of the world's best food, very closely rivaling Kuala Lumpur. Probably the 2 best food cities on earth in my personal opinion for someone who likes eating international and many different cuisines. Such vibrant neighborhoods. And really why I put Mexico City in the list is it gets a bad rap. Mexico in general gets a bad rap, but I think some people are like, okay, it's the beach, it's Cancun, whatever, that's cool, but don't go anywhere else. Mexico City, I've walked around at all hours of the night. Mrs. H walks around, and really no problems. You see a lot of police presence. You see I think just a place that it has gotten a very bad reputation, but it is an amazing city. And by the way, one city that we're looking at, real estate deals in, because we found really some incredible deals. You think, oh, this is like the New York, basically, of the Americas, or of Latin America. It's, I believe, the biggest city in Latin America. It's huge. I mean, you fly into it, it's like it's endless. But it gets such a bad reputation. And so you can live affordably, amazing food, super nice people, obviously a relatively easy language to learn. I think it gets a bad rap. Number 7 is one of the other largest cities in the Americas, which is Bogota in Colombia. I understand a lot of people like Medellin. Medellin is fun. For me, I like Bogota, a little bit cooler. I do like capital cities. As someone investing there, I like the capital city as a place that people are coming to from across the country. And I think it has been underrated, quite frankly. You've got so many great museums, you've got nice restaurants, you've got nice scenery. The construction, just driving into the city, it's beautiful. You see brick everywhere, you see amazing vistas. There's so much to do. Now, it is not as fast-paced as Mexico City. It is not as fast-paced as places in Asia. It's a little slower. Colombia is going to be a bit slower. But I think it doesn't get enough love that it deserves. So those are my 7 cities that I have visited, spent time in, ample time in most cases, over the last decade plus, and I think deserve more attention. Are they all the tax-friendliest places on earth? No, many are, but not all of them. That's where the trifecta approach comes in. Leave a comment below. I want to know if you've been to these cities, what you think of them, which of them you think should be in the list, what other cities I didn't mention should be in the list, maybe some smaller cities. Leave a comment below. I want to hear from you. How can Nomad Capitalist help you? 4 ways. Number 1, subscribe to our channel and click the notification bell to make sure you get our new video every day. Number 2, get a copy of Nomad Capitalist, the book. You'll learn a lot of my personal experiences over a dozen years of studying this stuff, as well as exactly some of the strategies that you can use to build your Nomad Capitalist plan. Number 3, if you're not sure where to start, but you want to come and learn from my team and I, you want to come and mingle with like-minded people, learn more about our live conference, Nomad Capitalist Live. It's coming up soon. And number 4, if you want some help right now because you've got a burning issue, you need something solved, you want to lower your taxes, get a second passport, or build the Nomad Capitalist lifestyle of your dreams, go to nomadcapitalist.com and click on Become a Client.